but we do experience different types of problem and suffering. So what is really bringing us suffering that we do not want? In other words, we should investigate the causes of suffering that we don't want. We also know that we are right now stuck in cyclic existence or samsara, and we want to be out of samsara, but we are in samsara right now. So what is keeping us, within cyclic existence? So I feel that it is really important for us to find out the causes of our being in samsara or cyclic existence and encountering different types of problems and suffering. If we listen to the words of Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa, or who is also known as Venerable Geshe, he has got this to say, that what binds us within cyclic existence or samsara is our own desire or attachment. So attachment, metaphorically speaking, is like a lasso that binds us within samsaric existence. So in other words, what Venerable Geshe is saying is this, that what binds us to samsara or cyclic existence, the binding factor, if you will, is attachment that each of us has within our own state of mind. As we recognize that, I think it's also important for us to find out, how does attachment bind us to or within samsaric existence. Of course, attachment is of different kinds, but the kind of attachment that is the worst form, if you will, is the one which is embedded in or very rooted in our ignorant conception of grasping at self. Because of our grasping at self, there arises, this attachment, which is the binding factor. In other words, what I'm trying to get across to you is this, that we ignorantly grasp at self, and this kind of grasping gives rise to attachment to self. So now we are very much attached to the self that is grasped at by our own ignorant conception. And due to this grasping and attachment, what we find ourselves doing is that we engage in, we think about and engage in all kinds of actions that would fulfill our selfish motives or interests that would benefit the self, that would bring victory to the self, and thinking about and engaging in actions that would bring defeat to others, and that might even involve hurting others. So this is how, we find ourselves stuck in samsaric existence.
Sometimes today insan ta nini de chaki ani ta shakwe ani khole jing ni ta ti ani ti khole phan ne ta khwa ne le cham jing kin no kare sunda de chaki wang ki ta le sa yo de se chabe khoi chore jing le ji cho sibi jaw se chores le ji cho ti ani sibi siba ki jaw chok na la ani do sin ngara so sing de yoris.
So how does an attachment, again we're talking about that, bind us to or within samsara existence? Is because of that form of attachment which I identified to you, that we engage in karmic actions, and these karmic actions, result in samsaric experiences and existence. As the great master Rinpoche goes on to say in a very poetic language, as Geshe was trying to quote the lines from his memory, so he uses the metaphor of lasso, to explain how attachments binds us to samsara, our single existence, and he uses the metaphor of rivers to talk about karmic actions that we accumulate under the influence of attachment, which carry us into the ocean of samsara or single existence.
Nyamota leni puta ti anita ranamende birin haso thinking the call cham gueta that thing but do so we are once.
So the bottom line is this: if we are wondering what keeps us within samsaric existence, there are two main factors: our own deluded states of mind, or simply called delusions or afflictive emotions, nyermong in Tibetan, and contaminated karmic actions, or what we call le. So delusions and karmic actions are the two primary causes of our being in samsara and our experience of different forms of problems and suffering.
Nyomo mabo yoros, nyomo mabo nani ta zab cheshu te, ta ranjuli yope, ta the chat channel, the danzi marigo wang te, the chaki kun hang to shine, ta lenga basatri mato, ta yenda tunze pe, ta kola shiji kele lake jo chagoris.
As we talk about how attachment that arises out of our grasping at the self is that which binds us to or within samsara, we must not think as if other forms of delusions are okay. They don't do much. No. Other forms of attachment also motivate us to engage in karmic actions which result in our experiences of samsara and also our existence in cyclic existence. The point that we are trying to make here is of all different types of delusion, if you will, attachment that arises out of ignorant grasping at self is a primary binding factor that really keeps us, that locks us, if you will, within the samsaric existence. So when I say that other forms of delusions are not okay, And are you able to think about what are the other forms of delusions? Can you think of the examples of other forms of delusion?
And then I'm going to get the control down, down, and tado down, and then there's a lot of down. Your testament down, testing your motion, that is the other was.
As a matter of fact, there are innumerable forms of delusion we have in our own state of mind, and we often talk about a number of them, such as anger and hatred. We talk about deluded pride or arrogance. We talk about jealousy or envy. We talk about deluded doubt. We talk about wrong views, and there are many others. So all those other forms of delusion also play, important roles in our experience of samsara and being in samsaric world.
That later, then the lending not get the share case, and we should be charged. Then never does some donkeys.
And another thing I mentioned is that how different forms of delusion within our own mind motivate us or undergird our karmic actions. So now it's also important for us to really reflect upon and try to understand, what is karmic action and what are the different types of karma.
So that the Sentient Dorjee condition in it, Lilin Jictin Hasosis, Nerje, Sentient, but Nerje Jictin, Geshes Sentient Samaluta, Lilit and Sumbakiris.
As it is stated in a sutra, or Buddha's in his own words, as Geshe quoted the line, that the entire world's systems are the products of karmic action. What we're really talking about is environmental worlds and also the inhabitants within the world systems. All of us, both our environment as well as we as the dwellers within the environments, are the products, are the results or outcomes of law of karma or karmic actions.
Nerje Jictin is Johnny, Zambil the Changchang Sampongchama, tell us how Mamboyers.
So as we talk about environmental world, we must not simply limit ourselves to the world that we live in. This is one of them. It is not the world and only one. There are many other environmental worlds in the universe. As a matter of fact, in samsara or cyclic existence, or as a part of samsara, if you will, we can talk about different types of environments in which we as sentient beings find ourselves in. Yes, we are in the human world. While there are the hell beings in the hellish environment, there are the hungry ghosts or the predators in the hungry ghost world or environment. There are the lesser kind of animals, in the animal world. There are the divine beings in the divine environment, or what we might call heavens or paradise. There are the asuras, or the entire divine beings of the gods in their own world system. So there are many environments even within samsara or cyclic existence. So those different locations, if you will, are what we call the environments or the environmental world systems. And then those of us who are within this environment, the different types of beings, we are the inhabitants within these worlds.
he gave him a thing, he got a rare was.
So, often these days, we talk about, we hear about, the importance of preserving our environment. So there are many, even in the, social and political arenas, we often talk about environmental issues, the need to preserve the environment, protect it. And it is true. Our environment is very important, very vital to our existence. From the spirituality point of view, in order to create a good environment, in order to preserve environment in a positive way, it is vital that we as inhabitants within the environment create positive karmic actions or generate virtuous, positive karmic actions. So as we talk about the environment's the importance, how our environment is a product of karmic actions, perhaps we can also talk about environment at two different levels. There is sort of what we call the collective environment or the global environment in which we find ourselves in. And then there is the personal environment or a space perhaps that we find ourselves in. So from spirituality point of view, if we want to have a positive environment at both levels, global level and the personal level, say we want to have peace in the environment, we want to have prosperity, we want to have happiness and stability. From a spirituality point of view, the key thing that brings all of those things we want is positive karmic actions. We cannot just keep on simply doing material developments or make a lot of money, as if money can create positive environments or buy peace or buy happiness, if you will. What really brings all the things we want in a good environment, peace, happiness, prosperity, and success, that has to come from positive karmic actions. Of course, we can use the money in a good way to clean off, the dirty environments.
Physical.
And so the physical environments where we talk about there's a pollution. Okay, let's invest a lot of money and clean it all up. Yeah, that is there, but that's how conventionally we talk about, protecting the environment and so forth. Well, in that way, yes, money can play a role and maybe technology can play a role here. But when I talk about being in a really positive environment, a good environment, what I'm really talking about is where we as individuals find ourselves in, the kind of place we live in, or the situation, or even at a global level. Now, those things are very intimately related to it and our outcome of, our collective and personal good karmas or karmic actions. So what I'm really trying to make a point here is that when we think from a spiritual point of view, being in a very positive environment where we find peace, happiness, prosperity, all that, that is very intimately related with our positive karmic actions. Let me give you another example how we often talk about just being in a pure land or in a Buddha field. Now that kind of environment is, if you will, the perfect utopia kind of environment where everything runs very perfectly. And that kind of environment and the things which run really well within the environment are the products of, are the outcomes of tremendous positive karmic actions. You cannot spend money and do a construction, of a Buddha field. We can't use technology and start to build a Buddha field where everything goes perfectly. We just can't do investment here. It just has to come through the creation and accumulation of positive karmic actions. Now that's the point I'm trying to make here. I don't mean that we cannot, clean pollution with money and technology as we understand in the world. Technically speaking, when we talk about creating or finding ourselves in a Buddha environment, there has to be an outcome of, as we say, merit. Tibetan term is surnam, merit, and in Sanskrit called punya. We cannot technically call as if Buddha's environment is a result of karma. Technically there is an issue here. Okay, so it has to be Buddha's environment is a result of accumulation of merit, punya. Karma is a very complex phenomenon or a concept or construct. So that's why we have a whole theory of karma, and it has a complexity that we need to kind of investigate and understand. Often we can talk about different types of karma or aspects or dimensions of karma, if you will. For example, that we can talk about what we call precipitating karmic actions. The kind of karmic actions which precipitate rebirth that we're talking about, Tenzin Dorjee. And then there are karmic actions which are fulfillment of the life, which what we call, which fulfills the events of our life. These are called Geshes in Tibetan. So when we talk about precipitating karmic actions or the, what are called accomplishing karmic actions or fulfilling karmic actions, these are the different categories. We can find both positive and negative karmic actions within each category. Now let's take a moment to think about how many types of sentient beings are in samsara or cyclic existence. As we often talk about, there are 6 types of sentient beings called 6 migrators. So these 6 types of migrators or sentient beings, maybe we can just simplify and put them into 2 different categories. We can say there are the good states of rebirth, and then there are the bad states of rebirth. So we categorize, cyclic existence into 2 different states: states of good rebirth and states of bad rebirth. Now, who are the ones out of the 6 types of beings who belong to the good states of rebirth, if you will? There are 3 of us. There are the divine beings or the celestial beings called Hua, and then there are the asuras or the demigods, the demi-divine beings called Samayin, and then there are the humans, me. So 3 of us sentient beings belong to the good states of rebirth.
That this somebody draw to somebody, she jutela, girl mato, McGee leche, and they some somebody share your show somebody laying your marriage.
So, in order to be reborn, either as a divine being, or as a demi-divine being, or as a human being, one must have accumulated positive karmic action. So, in other words, precipitating karmas to be reborn, as one of the 3 types of beings I just mentioned, either as divine beings or demigods or humans, the karma must be positive. Negative karma cannot precipitate rebirth in one of these 3 types of beings.
Miguel dan direta nyawa tang yada tu tundu sumbute ani tasyo ta ngendro wasegre.
Now there are the remaining 3 types of migrators of beings in samsara who we may categorize in what we call bad states of rebirth, and they are the hell beings, hungry ghosts, and lesser kind of animals.
That this ne tisumla. So the
precipitating karma in case of 3 types of rebirth is negative. A positive karma cannot precipitate one's rebirth either as a hell being or as a hungry ghost, preta, or as a lesser kind of animal.
Le Gawasana and give Shawat any dendro Shisha Pembata. And then let me give Shabina, give late and then pengoris.
So now I think you get the idea what do we mean by precipitating karmic action. A positive precipitating karmic action is the kind of karma action that precipitates one rebirth in the good states. Such as being reborn as a divine being, or as an asura or demigod, or as a human being. And a negative precipitating karmic action is that kind of negative karma which precipitates one's rebirth in difficult states, unfortunate states, and where one is reborn either as a hell being, or as a hungry ghost, or as a lesser kind of animal.
Pampeta to Shava in Bache, and it Georgia Telenia, Miguel Shepherd yours.
Okay, now I just kind of try to be as simple as possible. Now if we look at these 2 different types of karmic actions I just laid out, precipitating karmic actions and fulfilling karmic actions or accomplishing karmic actions. Now to complicate the matter a little bit here, it is possible that a karma that precipitates one's rebirth is positive, but the karma that completes one's life or fulfills one's life could be negative. You see, now we're getting complicated here.
That's the condition. Sanity called the West. Penji gave a late Pamba Yimbala, Georgie, Miguel Shabati, yours, not on the Cuban bus. That they contain the some condition some called the West.
So are you wondering what kind of situation this could be? An example of this where one's rebirth is a result of positive precipitating karmic action, but one's life is completed, the fulfillment of the life, or the life is completed in the sense by a negative karmic action.
That's Severis, Karasana. When Tandata Neg Nani pay Minkan Member Jashama those dead ones. Then so page later gave it pony militaris. In the Georgia Megishe, laying him a Santi, Zobashim, Nasa Narni, and 가르쳐 다때 야보지 요르데 딜 안때 되게 토할 때 문제 비린 하고 나서 보기凶的话
I think we will find plenty of really, if you will, clear-cut examples here. For example, we know that at this very moment, thousands and tens of thousands of people, human beings, fellow beings, are, terribly sick, and they are hospitalized. And so, in other words, that there are fellow human beings. Much of their lives is pretty much, is characterized by, just in these terrible sicknesses.
When that day among boys, which are sometimes, when Miss Shubukina go, any long shell in Savaya Marate, Yena, good nation, now gave age pata, gave age pani, military in a zoe to make a teacher, bunch of telling you that.
So that's an example of how, because, these fellow human beings, their rebirth is the result of positive precipitating karmic action, because the negative karma cannot precipitate one's rebirth as a human being. What seems to be happening is that much of their life is wrought with all kinds of miseries, and the example I gave is this just what are called terminal illnesses in your case. And this is definitely the result of negative karma, what we call completing their life. Their life is somehow as if completed by negative karma. Now we can find similar situations examples in different situations where somebody is born as a human being, is very successful in making money, is terribly rich, but at the same time a lot of miseries in the life. You just can't enjoy your risk. Just one problem after another.
That didn't do it. Yeah, Penji Megi village Pangla, Zoji gave it up in the Yazur, that the Yagus.
Now take another, different kind of example here, where one's life is precipitated by a negative karma, but one's life is completed by a positive karma. You see, now we are changing we're looking at, we are not really changing, we're looking at a different dimension of complexity of karma here.
That young as a little hover, Dr. Shavina, little hover is carrying, when that the Shimi to touch him with the one on the base, Dr. Yang anything there's certain journeys to me, the Salia, they meet, and then Jenny. Some of you in Yagudos. There's a conjure Sentient and the village part. Niasonka Reta, Tundu Tin, Yadiorba, Tunduk Shell and the Yorba, Penjete, McGee Shene, Tunduk Shell Humber. And that Zojet gave Shene, Samaya, Kare, Tonyata, Sayata, me and the show day, Roger show at the pay. Now,
if we take a moment, we can find plenty of examples to illustrate this point. The point is how one's life is precipitated by a negative karma, but one's life is completed by a positive karma. Okay, we have many examples, and you can easily relate to them. Well, I know that we love our pets. Right, cats and dogs and other kinds of pets, and so we feed them really well. We buy them the brand name food. We give them medical treatment, insurance. We buy for them. We let them come into our beds, and they can sit in the best seat we have in the house, and they are very well taken care of. Now, in their case, their being born as a cat or a dog, as a lesser kind of animal, is a result of negative karma. It can be a positive karma. But their life, they live such a happy life, in the sense like they're taken really care of so well. And so that is like their life is being completed by positive karmic results of positive karmic action.
So that the Pesebo was the Chitanjo lay the mantra, when it only the late Nugget, the take toy here, but Kali coverage.
He says karma is not only very complex, but it has very subtle aspects, and it's rather very difficult for somebody like us to understand the complexities and the subtleties of karma.
Lendage Nagate, Naranso Hegu, Sheni Palas yet the Chambers.
We need to study and understand law of karma, and to whatever extent we could, the complexities and the different types of karma. And after knowing about them, perhaps the more important for us is to conduct our life according to the law of karma.
That's Sentient conduct in a Lilith that the Lilith Shegugers, normally daughter was normally Lily Sheprasons.
As great Indian master Acharya Chandrakirti states in his supplement to the Middle Way, that all beings are born, or they are they are the outcomes of different types of karma.
Shetan that is that is Shetan Mandala Yapogoni. Le Zambogoni Shiale, Jitam, Nebegun Shiale, Nimbus, Tingaranzo, Shene, Sheva Shene, that Gidik Pangan, Yaposan Zen, Kitchembers.
So, I mean, at a very kind of a general level, we should understand and keep in mind that there are such things as good karmas and bad karmas, or positive karmas, negative karmas. And these positive and negative karmas bring positive and negative results accordingly. So by understanding that, then we should apply those principles in our life, in that we try to create as much as positive karmas and to stop creating negative karmas.
Oh, that Nanda Lambring Nandula Chanta, Tangiramchi, Lambridge, Tahana Yakashi, got a danger in the money can't do Skananga sooner.
So the things which I have tried to explain today, and the different complexes of karma and so forth, these are explained in detail in Buddha Sutras, in the Indian commentarial treatises on Buddha's teachings called Shastras, and in Lamrim treatises such as Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, or such as the Great Exposition of the Path by Lord Tsongkhapa and other Lamrim treatises. So if you are going to go back and read your Lamrim treatises, the particular section that you will find a lot about karma is in the context of intermediate level practice and practitioners. So what we find explained in Lamrim treatises on the stages of path enlightenment regarding, for example, in this karma, is what Buddha himself taught in the sutras, such as the sutra that deals with different types of karma, called Dota Lejaba, means hundreds of karmic action sutra. Just simply trying to translate the title.
Yes. That ain't ngarang chamalole. Hinkin so translate tonya tang, mihing sabatsole betang labis.
Again, this what I've just talked about is a reminder for those of us, who already know about this subject, and it is a new knowledge and information for those who are new to this topic.
Londo lama rumbuji sengechi rita yores kongsori zeba matuji pada ani ri koina karinda lendelan zemskana ta.
I think it was the great Tibetan, yogi master Longda Lama Rinpoche who said that until you reach the patience level of the path of preparation, always pay attention to the karma. Just be mindful of your karmic actions.
So chata ngaran so samjudi dibati kibu sangwe so chata lega siate megi le shawe so sam toya ki so yunya ga sam toya te ta so si lega shin mo de pe kapju kalu ke ching dos.
So we may wish for the best of everything. We want peace, happiness, prosperity, success, and you just name it. So that's something we wish in our mind, but if we don't pay attention to our actions, we might be indulging in actions which completely go against our wishes. So we want all these positive outcomes of the results, but we may find ourselves just doing all the negative things. So in which case, we are just completely being self-contradictory here, wishing for the good things and doing the wrong things, which will jeopardize all the good things we are seeking. And this is what we really need to, think about.
Geshe temple son dom de jawin junior tan geshe dom de jawin junior la ma kunchi sumchi se ane poto watang ta khara watang shenga was konan sumbuti ge ane kunchi sumchi ta kunchi se ne bala ka khara den de kunchi mare ta chöje thone kunchi sumge konan sumchi ane thanje chembe ta ya chibre thanje chembe lam Tangi Jeton, Dorduna, Mensalang be Taki Shalan Shibista, Tanga Sanji Combatay Pan Dorduni, any Lam Tangi Jeton, Sanji Toya, the Lam Tangi Jeton, Dorduni, Bivina, Tanka Baking Yams Language, Tati Yam Hundua.
So now we begin with a new section here, where the three, it simply says three brothers, have asked Geshe Tenpa, meaning Dom Tenpa, to explain in a concise practice that summarizes the key points of the path leading to omniscient state or enlightenment. Now the three brothers are Kadampa Geshe's Potowa, Shalawa, and Chengawa. Well, they are called three brothers, in terms of spirituality. They are not brothers by blood, but they are spiritual brothers. And these three Kadampa Geshes, called three brothers, often we call them, they have requested the great Dom Tenpa, the main disciple of great Atisha, to tell them in brief what is a concise practice that summarizes the key points of the path leading to complete enlightenment.
That land Dom Tembe Shanis, Don't Jay Injuni, Takana, the land number. Then Lanka reason, Danger Kansa kicks, that Kansa Susus Kansa kicks. And then Tangi Chambers. Sanjay Topper Shapanas, and then Lamching Jugo, Laja Sanji Mashabaki, Yue Changsi. Ali Andreta, Tangi Chambers, Sanjay Topper Shapala, Lam, and Lamching Jugochi, type between the Jubi Gote, and then Laja Sanji Mashabaki, Yoris, as soon.
And Dom Tenpa responds to them by saying that first, you should know that there are, inconceivable what are called precepts relating to the entrance into the path leading to Buddhahood or complete enlightenment. In other words, there are many things which are related with how to enter into the path leading to complete enlightenment.
That sentiment judgment which we are is. Yin that Jula Shiji want to say, Jula Shavi want to say, you want to say, that Gilia Maris, no Gilia Maris.
So Budontampa is as if saying that yes, there are many things to talk about, with regard to that. However, in terms of cultivating a path within your mind, one's own mind, that's just only one thing. Okay, so that's one thing to be cultivated within one's mind.
Happening don't do Sanji Combataya could tap the Jachambo Sanji Machamamu, 10 yours. You are at the Yinaya, Jula she want to shave in a tequila Mariscanando.
So, in other words, what Domtaba is saying is that there are many processes we'll talk about and related to the path to enlightenment, but there's only really one thing, that one needs to cultivate within one's mind. And what is it?
That give the carresses, give the kindness, carresena, Tony Hingi Nimbuchin insta. Tony Hingi Nimbuchin, that Banji, there is one that Tombanita, and Hingi and David Tomta.
So, what is it, if you ask, Domba said? It is simply the emptiness that is combined with compassion. So it's called Tongyi Ningxin Ningbuchen, emptiness that has compassion at its core.
Then those passivers, and then Sanju just sent down. Don't you go be hearing but that's some big dicta, did you say the rest coming door?
So, in other words, Domtaba is saying that there's only one thing that needs to be cultivated, and that one thing is basically the integrated path of emptiness and bodhichitta, or the altruistic mind of enlightenment.
That team, but there's some, and then you would use it. Tell us, shed out the Shenas, doing but only needing you would pan those in you would pass Chevy in us. Chevy in a Tomban is it? Don't say a Tomban, then there's a same thing. And
then the Domtaba goes on and says, okay, let me explain it a little more. What do I mean by emptiness with compassion as its core, or combined with compassion? He says, by emptiness I meant, ultimate bodhichitta, or the ultimate mind of enlightenment.
Down only Tomban, don't send you the same day. Then that's why you say that maybe what Karli Migris, that they can make a resonance, that Chur Tamke said that Chur you do to someone like the Jin Demashi, Chur yet to see someone of this, Chur Tamke, Rangin Sin, Rangin Namsta in Nam, Yen is Shemeto, Tomatins, that Rangis Madame, Yen because the Yen is a Tomane, and the Rangis to a son in Mabaji, Tangi, Rangis to a son in Mabaji. So what is the focus of ultimate bodhicitta, if you ask? In other words, what is ultimate bodhicitta, if you ask? And then he goes on to explain that the focus of ultimate bodhicitta is the final or the ultimate nature of all phenomena, all dharmas. By all phenomena meaning everything that exists, whether a phenomenon is produced or impermanent, whether it is unproduced or permanent, it doesn't matter. The final nature, the ultimate nature of all phenomena, it's empty of inherent existence right from the very beginning. In other words, that phenomena are primordially empty of existence from their own side, and that is the focus of
ultimate bodhicitta. So one needs to realize that. Realizing that final nature of phenomena is what we call ultimate bodhicitta.
That Tenzin Dorjee is na mindu rangi ta nelu jibase. Tenzin Dorjee ta nelu Tenzin nelu jibase. That the yeni semi dosani. Yeni semi the rangi to be share me segur mato ya. Chue kande jigin zan share me betene sungu mares.
So the ultimate nature of phenomena, or the final modes of existence of phenomena, that's in other words the way in which phenomena actually exist. You can call it ultimate nature, you can call it the final nature or final mode of existence. When we look at that, what we see is that nothing exists in and of itself, nothing exists on its own side, from any point of time. And so that, if we realize that, that is what we call realizing emptiness.
But the translation the Precipitating, you shake yours, can get you shake yours. Then show mess, I caress no, you rangi to be share miss. German is share miss, rangi to be share miss. Look at the
I think it's really important for us to be able to understand and differentiate between production and inherent production. Of course, there is production. Certain phenomena or things are produced by their causes and conditions. For example, when we talk about sprouts, like how the seeds give rise to sprouts, seeds produce sprouts. Well, that is fact. Okay? But there is no inherent production. Even though the sprouts are produced by the seeds, but they are not inherently produced by the seeds. So that's a really important distinction you need to understand. Another example is that we all know that our hairs grow, right? Our hair grow on our head, and if anybody denies that, just he or she is just completely go berserk and crazy. I mean, you're just denying what you can see, with your naked eyes. So hair does grow on our head, but there is no such thing as inherent production or growth of hair on our head. So if you say that, okay, if there is no inherent production of hair on the head, does that mean we are all bald? But I must also underscore the fact that it's really difficult to understand and realize emptiness. Because some people seem to have this notion that, emptiness, okay, I know what it is. But I totally disagree with them. It is not easy to understand or realize emptiness. I think it seems like somebody just kind of snapped a finger in front of and I said, emptiness is easy like that. I can, I understand it. No, it really needs a lot of thinking, a lot of, rationalization, and we need to make a lot of efforts to understand and realize emptiness. We have to do tremendous purification of negativities and accumulation of merit to be able to understand and realize emptiness.
3분의 수성의 소위. 맨다타는 푸니, 맨다푸니 샤그, 샤즈 파존이, 루베세는 어떤 투엔 어떤 대신에, 주자들잖아니, 아니, 동문이 또비, 또비 추 넘버스.
Look at the life story of Rinpoche, Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. Of course, in reality, we accept him as an emanation of Manjushri. That means he already knew and realized what emptiness is. But in order to teach us lessons, even Rinpoche, he engaged in tremendous purification practice and accumulation practice. That's why in the Rinpoche's life story we can know about how many 100,000 of mandala offerings he did. He used his wrist to make mandala offerings so much so that even the skins got kind of ripped off his hands, but doing mandala offering on the rough surface of rocks or the stone. So that tells us how much merit we need to accumulate and how much purification we need to do in order to realize the emptiness.
So, and it is so sad that Nani and it don't have la so you song he was so you song and those he's in those and it long job of soon Nani shares.
As a result of tremendous purification practices that Rinpoche was able to have a direct vision of the 35 Buddhas of confession practices, and out of these 35 Buddhas, Buddha Nagaraja, then he spoke to him.
Tawa number tawa rangili sheba ta tomanji ter nani tawa sheba ane tanta de chenta tani de trewachi ta cheguga. To be able to understand emptiness as it is, that we don't get misled or we don't, misunderstand emptiness, we have to understand what are the two extremes, extreme of eternalism or permanence, an extreme of nihilism or annihilation, and we have to avoid those two extremes and be right in the middle, so to speak, to be able to understand emptiness. Okay, Jim just said to the again. Karina.
Take Lebe cancer not against the wall again. Did you show another? And they should more sure. Before we do dedications, we're going to stop there today. I have one prayer request here. Charlie D. Barron has has a health issue, and so prayers are requested for him. Okay, that's we have together accumulated merit by participating in the teaching, and we dedicate our merit for the flourishing of Dharma, the source of benefits and happiness throughout the universe. May His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all other great holy masters, wherever they are living in any part of the universe, live long and be successful in fulfilling the visions benefiting sentient beings. May spiritual communities throughout the world and spiritual practitioners from all traditions remain healthy, harmonious, and be successful in fulfilling their spiritual aspirations. May this and other world environments be free of all kinds of unwanted pains and problems, and may beings find peace, happiness, prosperity, and spirituality. Last but not least, we dedicate our collective marriage for all kind mother sentient beings to be free from the fears and dangers of two types of mental obscuration, and may we all reach complete enlightened state quickly.